Hello my friends, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to have some fun and we're going to use paper napkins, scrapbook paper, stamps, let's see what else, maybe some other stuff, I'm not sure. We're going to use this on paper that I have previously colored. I dyed it. I didn't really like the way that it came out. Well, let me explain to you why while I am separating these napkins. Before I get into my explanation though, I want to tell you what I'm doing with the napkins. If you like to work with napkins, or if you're new at working with napkins but you'd like to work with them, tearing them apart can be a little difficult. Cutting them even can be difficult. But if you take a paintbrush, you dip it in water, and then you paint the shape in the napkin that you would like, then you can see how easily it comes apart. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm dipping my paintbrush in water, and then I'm just marking the napkin, and then I'm tearing it. It makes such quick and easy work of disassembling your napkin and taking the images off of it that you want. Now sometimes I will take an entire napkin and cover my paper with it, but in this case today that's not what we're doing. Today I just want to use pieces of the napkin because I want to create some beautiful papers that have patterns on them. Now let's talk about those papers. I took a stack of plain white paper and I decided I wanted to experiment with it. And so I did. But I was experimenting with watercolor, and it was like this watercolor palette that my daughter was finished with. She was going to throw it away, but she said, "Hey Mom, do you want this?" And I said, "Well, hey, sure. Why not? Let me see what I can do with it." So I ended up throwing the papers in a pan, and then ended up sort of like putting water in the watercolors and pouring them on the paper, and then stacking more paper and doing the same. But to my surprise, the paper started out really colorful and then it faded out. It was really strange. So the papers that you see me working with here are the papers, and you can see there is some color on some of them, and then some of them sort of have this gray look to them like these past few have. This one has a little more color on the other side. So I just wanted to do something extra with them to just make them a little more fun, make them a little prettier. So I thought we would make some mixed media papers today. So I decided that since I wasn't totally thrilled with the paper how it was anyway, it didn't really matter if I messed these up or if I play with them and they didn't come out the way that I might like. So I grabbed one of my very favorite stamps, and I found this stamp at the thrift store, and I decided that I would go ahead and stamp on them. Now obviously, as you can see, I've moved on to my clear block stamp, and I'm adding some dragonflies. But this is what I thought I would do, is just randomly stamp using different colors, using different shapes, just sort of creating a layered effective activity on the papers. I don't have any pattern in mind. I don't have a theme in mind. I just want to get something on these papers. Now I've got this particular stack all stamped up. Now I'm going to start adding my paper. And today I've decided, not my paper, my napkin. And today I've decided that I want to use decoupage. So I'm putting a little bit of decoupage on the paper, then putting the napkin over top, and then I'm going to go ahead and decoupage over top of the napkin. And I'm doing that just to make sure it's on there secure, but also to remove any air bubbles that might be underneath of that napkin. It'll sort of push them out as I am decoupaging the top of the napkin as well. I had decided that when it was time to apply the napkin, I was not going to worry about whether I was covering a stamped image or not. I didn't want to get into that. I didn't want to overthink it. You know, if I was trying to avoid one of them, then it would just take me too long to get these napkins down on the paper. I didn't want to do that. And I thought also with some of the lighter color napkins, the stamp might actually show through it. So then I'd have a sort of a double layer within the image. Hopefully that makes sense. Now you can see here I'm going over a dragonfly. The dragonfly is not that dark, but this napkin is. So I don't expect for that to pop through at all. But when I'm working with some of the lighter color napkins, then we might end up seeing some of those stamps show through. I'm doing a bunch of different papers today. As a matter of fact, this might end up being like a 2-day process because I just want to take the time to experiment and have a good time. Well, you can see here that I put some napkin down, and now I'm going to play with some stencils. And again, not too worried about if I go over the stamps that I put on, if I go over the napkins that I put on. I am not a pro at any of this. I don't do this enough, although I'd like to start to incorporate it probably a little bit more. So we're just going to go around with our stencil. We're going to have fun with it, not going to overthink it like I said, and just, again, add more color to these papers. If you're in the mood to create and just be really, really free about what you're creating, I recommend you trying this out. You get to use all these different things, the stamping, start with some coffee dyeing, throw some coffee on a paper, and then let that dry obviously, and then get out some stamps and just have at it. Just be free about it, have a good time with it. Don't worry about it, just do it and see what happens. When we're done with this, then I'm going to show you all of the papers that I created, and we can see if we like them or not. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, because even if there's a paper that we don't love, we can take that, cut it into pieces, and use it as a base for a tag. By the time you take something and you divide it up like that, it really becomes its own unique piece. So I don't think we can lose doing this. I think it's going to be a win-win no matter what the outcome is. Personally, I think this page is looking really cool. It is busy, but it looks very unique, and I do like that. Now this is my little bin of scraps that I have, and I have scrap paper, and I have a little bit of scrap fabric. I have all sorts of fun little scrappy things in here. I am simply looking for things that I can attach to some of these papers. Again, no rhyme, no reason, not overthinking it. I am simply grabbing whatever strikes my fancy and whatever I sort of can visualize in my mind that might work with some of the papers I've got going. as I am creating these papers, I am thinking in my mind, how would I want these to look if they go in a journal? Now we know we can cut them into tags. We know we can use them for collage. All sorts of things we can use them for. But my main focus is, how can I create these so they look kind of cool inside of a journal? So in my scrap bin, I found some of these offcuts, actually. This is what I'm putting on here. It's an offcut. And I like to use offcuts on the edges of my papers in journals. It adds color, it adds interest, and it also strengthens the edge of the pages. So I really do enjoy them. So here you can see I've added sort of a vintage looking offcut, and now I'm starting to work with some book pages. And again, making quick work of it, I'm just tearing it so that it has a torn look. I don't want the edges of this paper to be even. I want it to just look sort of jagged and rugged and all of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that onto the paper. And I am now just going to use my tacky glue to do that. I could use Mod Podge, but this, I'm editing this later, and this is like the next day. I went at these papers for a couple of days because I had so many I wanted to get through. And so I used the Mod Podge yesterday, but today I am using my tacky glue. Well, my friends, I've been going at these papers for a while now. I want to go ahead and show them to you. I am very excited with how they turned out. All right, friends, so I want to show you first the pages that we added napkins to. On this one, we added napkins and I did some stamping. All of that is stamps. This is a piece of a napkin. And then I did some stenciling. So all these parts with like polka dots, that is stenciling. So 3 spots with napkins and then stamps and stencils. Here is the other side of it. And actually, let me put this in autofocus. Hopefully everything will look a little crisper. So on this side, we've got 4, 5, 6 spots with napkins. And then you can see the stamping. And then a little stenciling. Here is the stenciling. So I this is the first time that I think that I've done pages like this using the 3 different things. Oh, and then the page started its life as simply a page that I had used watercolors on, so that it would have looked something like that. All right, so on this one, very similar. You can see the stenciling, the stamping, and the napkins. A little cleaner on this side. I think that turned out so pretty. I want to make sure that I mentioned that some of these napkins were given to me by Pam of Pamela's Creations. So here's another one. I love how intense these turned out, and I think they'll be really pretty pages in a junk journal. Love the colors of this napkin here, so bright red. Let me know if you like these, and let me know if you want to see more process videos. I didn't do lengthy process videos on those because
I'm not sure if that's something that you guys like or if you just like to see the end product. So these sheets are both napkins on the front and the back. So what I did was, oops, on this one I used the whole napkin over the whole sheet, and then I had a scrap, and I used the scrap here and here. And then this is the second layer. Okay, so a lot of napkins, as you know, they pull apart and you have 2 to 3 layers. This was the second layer, so I used that over the paper. Did I show you the other side? Okay, here it is. And this was a green napkin. And then as you can see, there was the red scrap on that one. I just think these are so intense and wonderful. And I love how this turned out. I think that looks really cool. So here's a big butterfly napkin. So on this one, I love this too because this was a butterfly napkin, but this was scrap. Actually, you know what this was? This was the second layer of this, and look at the difference, but it's so awesome with this. I just love how that turned out. And then here's the full napkin. And I'm sliding them off the, off my desk like that, just so my camera doesn't fuzz in and out. You know how it does that sometimes. That was upside down. So here is this, little napkins here, and then some stamping, and then this is actually the second layer of a napkin right here. And it blends in so nicely. Here I've got 4 pieces of napkin. That was that second layer of the green one. Love how this turned out. And here's another Christmas one. And this one I just did the napkin on the top, and then this was how the paper looked just before I had put the napkin on it. So I thought it looked kind of snowy, so I left that plain. All right, these are the ones that just have stenciling, and I have to tell you guys, I don't use my stencils that much, and I absolutely had a blast using these stencils. And actually, the stencils that I used were also given to me by Pam of Pamela's Creations. And like I said, I just had so much fun. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull through them, and I am not gonna flip them over. The patterns are different on the other side, but just for, time saving, I just kind of want you to see them. And I just love this. I started with the watercolor. I did that first. Once that was dry, then I did the stenciling, and I love these. I think these are going to be great to add to journals. I mean, just so fun. And you know what? If I wanted to use them in collage, I could. I could cut one up and use them for a base for an ATC card. I could continue on with some of them and make them into master boards and then cut them up for tags or whatever. So the possibilities are endless. Do you see the watercolor tray here? So I was just really experimenting and having a lot of fun with it. So I was filling the tray and then turning it upside down and just letting it go. And so some of the pages have that print on them. You can see here the colors orange, yellow, pink, green, so in the order of the tray. And I just loved doing that. Here you can see a little bit of those circles too. It was just so fun to just play and just have fun and not think about it, not worry about it, just go at it and have a good time. Here they are again. And I just love the stencils, and it was just so much fun. These also started with my watercolor papers. These ones came out much more plain. They didn't absorb as much color, which is fine. And that's why I wanted to do something else with them, because I wasn't happy with them just the way they were. So here I just did some stamping and a napkin. This is the second layer of a napkin. So this is what I would consider to be a pretty clean page. And same here, some stamping and the napkin. Same here. Now on this one, now we're getting into the ones where I pulled some scraps from my scrap bin. So this is how the page was. I added the stamps, and then I just added this piece of scrap paper. I think I did something on the, no, just stamps on the back of that one. I didn't want all of them to be over the top. You want a variety. You want some to be full of bursting with color, and then you want some to be just a little cleaner, a little simpler, a little more simple, depending on the sort of work you're going to be working on. So this one, just book pages here and some stamping. This is also just some stamps. This one we've got some scrapbook paper on the edge. We have book pages here. And then this is an old vintage envelope that I'm sort of pulling apart and using here and there. So I've got that down on the bottom, just for interest. On the other side, just stamping and book pages. And I like this look because it looks like, to me, it reminds me of like a crack in a wall. And so when I put these on, that's sort of what I'm envisioning. And I love that look. I don't know why, but I do. So this one I took this was a big sort of square piece, and I just ripped it and I inked the edges and popped that on there. And here we've just got more of that old envelope, some scrapbook paper, some book page, and this was an old, actually, this was not an old key tag. This was a newer key tag from when I went and got my oil changed, and I thought, I'm gonna keep that because that'll look pretty cool in something. So here we've got some of the paper that did absorb some of the color. It's gorgeous. I added just a few stamps. We've got some butterflies and a plant, and then here's a piece of tissue paper that my friend Carol of Carol's Recrafted Boutique had sent me, and I thought that looked pretty on there. On the other side, I just did some butterflies and a green plant sort of in the center, so when you fold the page, let's see if this ends up going in a journal. All right, this will end up on this side of the fold. But I didn't really care where it ended up, I just wanted it there. So here on this one, we have a piece of scrap paper, butterfly stamps, plant stamps, and I don't think anything, oh yeah, I forgot. So on this side, we've got our butterfly stamps, our plant stamp. We've got some tickets, and then we have the cat. And this is just sort of, I might add to this, but it's a nice start with some nice pastel-y colors. I might not add to it. I might leave it as is and use it the way it is. So time will tell. These ones are just stamped, and I will just pull through these and show these to you while I close up the video. And I just wanted to thank you all for spending some time with me today. If you guys would like to see, more process videos on stuff like this, let me know. If you don't, then that's fine. I won't do process. I'll just show my finished product. But if you like to see my process and like to, sort of maybe listen to me explain it or talk about it, please let me know that, because, oh, don't they look so cute? Because I'm happy to do that. Thanks for watching. See you soon.